Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
It is the 30th of November, which means we are 32 days away from the end of 2020. Goodness, the year really did pass by really quickly, really fast. There were a lot of unprecedented events happening even before 2020 hit. 2019 was sort of a little bit of an omen back in December. There was a lot of crazy things happening, and then crazier things kept on happening throughout 2020. But even though yesterday Mikhail and I were talking about how I'm not that positive or have a positive outlook towards 2020, that I'm trying to keep my spirits high and perhaps, attract some positive energy. And 2021 perhaps could be the year where good things happen. Welcome to the Afternoon Karak. I'm Aisha Al-Mazmi. I'm running solo for the day, and I've got a lot of things to talk about, including a would you rather question that just left me thinking for hours. I have no idea what to pick. Maybe you guys can help me with my decision. Our question is up on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. So check it out, or you can wait for later on in the hour when we can talk about it more. It's about riches and whether you want physical riches, as in do you want gold and money, or do you want riches in knowledge and technology? What do you want? Would you rather visit El Dorado, or would you rather visit Atlantis? If you don't know much about those two mythical places, you have Google right now. You guys have a couple of minutes before we go and talk about it, so do some research, check it out, find out would you rather visit either places. We're talking about the Grammy nominations last week, and Halsey has spoken up about the unfairness of the nominations. And there's another update about something we spoke about last time, and that is the Monolith. The creepy Monolith. It disappeared. Just like that, in thin air. We're going to be talking about that and so much more. Join in the conversation, 4215. It's a lot or do. I would love to listen to you. Listen to me as well, because I am, or at least the Afternoon Karak is your coping mechanism for 2020. So join in. Let's have fun for the next hour from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. only here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95 on Pulse 95.
Last week, the Bureau, not the Utah Bureau of Land Management, but rather a scientist on a helicopter just innocently counting some sheep for research purposes, finds a massive monolith in the middle of the Utah desert. And everybody was super confused, and the Utah Bureau of Land Management was very angry because they were wondering, how on earth did this appear? Where did it appear? Why was it there? That was the biggest question. Why was it there, and who put it there? So nobody was really answering that question. And apparently, according to some quick research by a lot of people on the internet, they found that the monument or the monolith had been there since 2018, completely undetected. And the management at the Utah Bureau of Land Management, they did not reveal where the actual location of the monolith is, but it was quickly revealed by a bunch of people on the internet again. And apparently it is completely gone. It has disappeared. The Bureau of Land Management says outright that it was not them. They did not touch it because it was private property, and they do not do any investigations about anything that's private property. That would be the sheriff's department's responsibility. So the question is, who did this and why did they do this? The ongoing, I'd say, theory would be, not my theory, or at least the Afternoon Karak's theory. We're going to get to that in a moment. The ongoing theory is that it's an art installation, because there's a lot of those weird art installations across the entire world where somebody tries to break the norm with their interpretation of what modern art is, and they would do some weird things. I mean, we've had Banksy shred his own painting literally seconds after it was bought as, maybe a comment about capitalism, maybe. I don't know, honestly. But again, that's what modern art is all about. It's all about different interpretations. And perhaps that monolith was some sort of a weird idea from that modern artist. But we believe right here on the Afternoon Karak that was the work of none other than the aliens. We are super convinced. And maybe the aliens thought that this is garnering way too much attention. Maybe they were trying to try out something. It was not working out. Maybe it was, some sort of like a beta device or a demo device, some sort of radio signal device, and it was not working. They were just trying it out, and they're like, okay, no, the humans know too much. Better remove it before they notice it. Who knows? Again, it's open to interpretation, and until somebody actually comes up and says, takes ownership of it, I think we could let our imaginations go crazy, go insane, whatever you think of. Do you think it's aliens? Do you think it's art? Or maybe, I'm thinking it could also be something from the Army itself. The U.S. Army might have installed it there, the Air Force. Maybe they're trying out something, but it's just such a weird monolith. It's 10 to 12 feet long. It's approximately the height of an average man, like two men on top of each other, stacked above each other. They would be the height of this monolith, and it's just so smooth and strange. And some people think that it might be some sort of an artist's homage to the 2001 Space Odyssey, because that is the opening sequence when you see a massive monolith appear that was installed by the aliens. We don't know. Text me 4215. It is a lot, or do tell me what do you think it is, or comment on our Instagram, on our Twitter, on our Facebook pages, and also on YouTube, where we're streaming live right now. I'll be taking a short break. Coming up next, our Would You Rather question. Would you rather go to Atlantis, or would you rather go to El Dorado? Stay tuned for that and much more right here on Pulse 95.
Would you rather this or that? A or B? Left or right? What's your choice?
So, today's question is, would you rather go to Atlantis, or would you rather go to El Dorado? I know a lot of people probably have heard of Atlantis from, the actual movie by Disney, but it is a well-known allegory for hubris. It is a well-known story from ancient Greece. If you guys know Plato, one of the many philosophers, he's the one who spoke about Atlantis. But beyond that, everybody knows that Atlantis is a place with a lot of knowledge. They probably had some sort of weird devices that made them, fly. They had somewhat like car-like devices. Basically, they are what you would consider a highly intelligent group of people in a very technologically advanced society. So that's the question. Would you rather be there? Or would you rather go to El Dorado, which is also another fictional, or is it fictional? That is a question. A fictional place that would be in Southern America. And it is considered to have a lot of treasures, like majestic sort of treasures, insane amount of treasures, especially gold. And it is said that a lot of the Inquisition, that would be the Spanish forces that were taking over the entirety of the Americas around the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, they were more or less searching for that place, because who would not want a bunch of gold? So that's the question. Would you rather be wealthy in terms of, technology and the wealth of the mind? Or do you want to be physically wealthy with gold and various forms of treasures? And I had to take a moment and think about it a lot. Like, what do I really want? Do I want to experience that crazy technological advancements that the Atlanteans had? Because it would be really cool to, fly around, maybe. Yes, we do kind of fly around with our planes and whatnot. We are technologically advanced, but remember, the Atlanteans were technologically advanced even way more than we are right now. So they would be what we consider like, in those sci-fi movies about, Star Trek and whatnot, how it is maybe 1,000, 2,000 years, forward, how people or humanity might be living. Or even about when we think of aliens outside our solar system, when we think of how much advanced they are, we kind of could, draw comparisons from them and the Atlanteans. So it's like that would be super cool to have this crazy sort of energy. And if it's similar to Atlantis from Disney, I would want to harness something super cool like that. But at the same time, just the feel of being in South America, it's, first of all, the climate is amazing. It's fantastic. Not saying that Atlantis' climate is probably not amazing. I mean, it would be around the Atlantic Ocean or the Mediterranean, and that is fantastic weather as well. But the jungle climate over there and the whole mystery of living in a city that would be in the midst of the jungle with lots of interesting culture that would be super rich. And again, living with that sort of richness, cultural richness and physical richness would be super, super cool. We asked the same question to our followers on Instagram, and 70% said that they would rather go to Atlantis over El Dorado. I'm going to blame it on the fact that they probably don't know much about El Dorado. People don't speak about it as often as they do about Atlantis because everybody watches Disney Atlantis, but not a lot have watched the DreamWorks version of El Dorado, which is a super cool movie. I grew up watching that movie, grew up watching both, but El Dorado kind of had a special place in my heart. And when I'm thinking of El Dorado or visiting it, that's the same picture I have in my head. So I feel like I am leaning towards that. I feel like it just felt super cool. The colors, the rich culture. I want to try out all of that. I want to see what's happening behind in the middle of the jungle where nobody has ever set foot in. The place is probably quite majestic and super cool. And also, like I said, Atlanteans are an allegory for hubris. Do I want to be associated with somebody as somebody who has hubris? Not really. Even though people, who seek El Dorado are probably quite, I'd say, selfish or looking for physical materialistic riches. But what's wrong with that, right? What's wrong with searching for treasures and all kinds of riches? So text me 4215 Etisalat or do tell me all about it. Where would you rather go? To Atlantis or would you rather go to El Dorado? I'm going to be leaning towards El Dorado. Tell me if you're on my team as well. We're going to be taking a short break. Coming up next, we've got the sports headlines, some Taylor Swift music, and also we're going to be talking about the Grammy nominations, namely Halsey's commentary about it and how unfair these nominations happen to be. So stay tuned for that and much more right here on Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Just last week, we got the Grammy nominations, and to say the least, I was very, very open about how upset I am at some of the nominations. I believe even some of the nominees themselves were very upset. The one that I commented a lot about was Justin Bieber. No offense to any Justin Bieber fans, he is super cool, but I did not feel that he really fit into this year's categories. In fact, Justin Bieber himself believed that his album, Chance, does not fit in the category. So it just tells you that nobody was really happy. One of the biggest, surprises about the Grammy nominations was The Weeknd. A lot of people were backing The Weeknd and asking the question, how on earth did the Grammy forget or skip The Weeknd? It made absolutely no sense at all. I mean, his latest singles, his latest music is just insane. It was really good. I believe that everybody collectively enjoyed it across several genres. Even if you're not a fan of The Weeknd, you've got to admit that his latest album was pretty fantastic. And Halsey, who is the latest musician to literally say that this is unfair. What is going on with this? She is joining the chorus of many, many musicians and other artists who are also voicing their dismay in the nominations. She says that the Grammys are corrupt, and that is incredibly brave of her to say. Not that Halsey has ever shied away from being incredibly candid like that, but she has garnered the support from fellow musicians like Drake, Elton John, Charlie Puth, and many others. And again, that just shows you that it feels somewhat similar to what the Academy Awards was going through a couple of years ago. It took them a while for them to shift their entire rules to include, well, to be more inclusive. And if you guys remember from a couple of years ago, some of the people who vote for the Academy Awards admitted that they never actually watched some of the movies that they vote for. So it just begs the question, how do these work? What is going on behind the scenes? She says that she's been thinking and wanted to choose her words carefully because a lot of people have extended sympathy and apology to her since the Grammy nominations in reference to her own album. But she says the Grammys are an elusive process that can often be about behind the scenes private performances, knowing the right people, campaigning through the grapevine with the right handshakes and bribes that can be just ambiguous enough to pass as not bribes. So this just tells you that there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and it just talks about the integrity of the Grammys. Are they the actual, I'd say, like, is getting a Grammy that important anymore? Is it an indication of how great you are this year, of your achievement? Does it highlight that? Or is it all about what Mikhail would call the Hollywood wasta? Or is it, because it sounds like that is what it is, especially coming from an industry insider such as Halsey herself. And the fact that she garnered the support of a lot of artists tells us that this is probably most likely very true. I mean, there is no doubt that Halsey is most likely not lying. She has, no horse in this race, even though you can say that, yes, her album could have been a contender and she might be upset about it. But she said herself that although she is a bit upset, but she's more upset about the other artists who deserved a lot more and deserved better than this. There are some names that deserve to be there, such as Chloe and Hailey themselves. They are some fantastic duo. I talk about them all the time. And Doja Cat, who was great. But even then, I believe that 2019 was more of Doja Cat's year rather than 2020. So we really don't know. We don't understand what's going on with that. But yeah, I'm on board with the nominations myself. I'm not sure about you guys, so share your thoughts. Tell us who were snubbed in this year's or the 2021 Grammy nominations, and who deservedly got the nominations that they definitely deserved. For me, like I said, it's only like less than a handful that I agree that deserved it. Meanwhile, there were a lot who did not, and I'm not naming names, even though I did last time. But yeah, again, it's all about personal preferences, and also there is some sort of objectivity to it. Again, The Weeknd did amazing this year, and I'm pretty sure if Big House was here, he's going to agree with me as well. Shout out to Big House from Yellow Home. He'll probably agree with me that there is a lot of snubs in this year's Grammys. I should have brought him in today to talk about it, but that's okay. We can talk about it off air, me and him together. Coming up next, one of the Grammy nominees, Chloe and Hailey, and we're going to be talking more about other stuff right here, fun stuff, and your coping mechanism for 2020, the afternoon Karak.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
When I say the Grinch, I'm pretty sure everybody instantly, and I mean instantly, thinks of Jim Carrey's performance as the Grinch from The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, because, I mean, who else could have played it better than he did? I don't think anybody can ever think of anybody else in that role. Yes, Benedict Cumberbatch did take over the role, but he was doing it as the voice of the Grinch, and he was fantastic in his own way. But at the end of the day, the Grinch equals Jim Carrey. Now, there are rumors that Jim Carrey is going to be reprising his role to a new Grinch live-action movie that is at works at Universal. So there's a lot of things I want to talk about this. First of all, why? Why do you want to do a sequel to a movie that is quite old? I mean, it's had a very good resolution, doesn't need anything extra. If I'm trying to think of a sequel, I can't really think of anything, to be honest, because the entire story was all about the Grinch, his upbringing and how it affected him, how he turned into the Grinch, into an evil person who hated Christmas and hated people, into eventually becoming a loving person. That was the moral of the entire story. So what is it that they want to talk about? Will they ever have have a sequel to this movie. If they want to reboot the entire story, to which again I ask, why? There is absolutely nothing wrong with the original movie. There is nothing to it that requires it to be remade. I think it is a case of sequelitis again, which again, we don't understand this time, especially since, yes, there have been a lot of remakes, especially coming from Disney, and that is a whole different conversation. But that doesn't mean that that should be the case for this sort of movie. It is a cult classic. There are tons of people who enjoy this movie already. There is nothing that needs to be added to it or created or done to it or another treatment to it for them to create a different or a new version of this movie. So I really don't understand what's going on in the heads of the executives at Universal that's making them think that, we should have the movie again, we should remake it as a reboot or a sequel and bring back Jim Carrey. And the question is, would even Jim Carrey be willing to come back, especially since he actually had a torrid time, a terrible time while filming this entire movie. I mean, he had to sit for hours and hours and hours to get all that makeup and prosthetics on. That's one thing. And apparently he just had a very terrible time to the extent that he was threatening to quit the movie back then. I don't even think that he would be willing to come back, especially at his age, and especially since he has changed so much in terms of the way he thinks. He's been a lot more vocal about a lot of things, and he hasn't been really at the forefront when it comes to a lot of Hollywood movies or anything they've recorded regarding Hollywood, beyond talking about these social issues that are happening in the industry, and as well the political issues that are happening in the United States. Beyond that, he really hasn't been that active at all. He is active on social media, but would he be willing to do the role? I'm leaning towards like a big no. I don't think he would actually go for it. So the question is, Universal, what are you planning? What is going on, and why would you even think that? I don't think it's a very good idea at all. I'm not even a big fan of this movie. I mean, my cousin, she's 7 years old, and she did never watch the fact that she was not born when the movie had come out, but she's a massive fan of it. She has rewatched it several times, and that just tells you that it's perfect for all ages and perfect for everybody. Guys, text me 4215 select or do and tell me all about it. What do you guys think? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Again, I believe it's a terrible idea. Not even a bad idea. It's just a terrible idea. They should not mess with classics. If it's a perfectly good classic, why would I ever mess around with it? That is the biggest question. But we all know that sometimes greed and profit overcomes, a lot of integrity and, staying true to yourself. And which is, ironically enough, is the entire story of the Grinch. And with that, we end our segment right here and our hour right here on the afternoon Karak. Hope you guys had fun with me, even though I was riding solo. Tomorrow is the beginning of our festivities. We have a lot of things for you guys to look forward to for National Day. We've got a ton of amazing and super unique guests from across various fields and industries right here in the UAE. So make sure you're tuning into all our shows starting from 7 a.m. with the Morning Majlis. Moving on to Future Talk. We've got the halftime show in the afternoon Karak, of course, and Yalla Home. Make sure you're tuning in to us right here on Pulse 95. Coming up next, we've got Big Hass and Anna Schofield keeping on the fun and the entertainment right here on Pulse 95. I've got a nice throwback. Since we mentioned Drake earlier, I think this is a good song to end the entire hour. Just go back in time to when things were easier, more fun. Actually, no, those coming days can also be fun with the extended weekend. You guys can still keep up the joy and keep up the good spirit. Keep them up high, especially looking forward to the Gemat of National Day. If Gabi, our videographer, is tuning in, don't worry. The Gemat are coming to the Pulse 95 studios. With that, I tell you goodbye, have fun, and take care.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.